Hello, everyone. For decades, Tony Beets, the grizzled, fiery, cigar-chewing modern-day Viking of Discovery Channel's Gold Rush, stood as not just a miner, but a symbol of raw northern toughness, a man whose booming voice, unpredictable temper, and unwavering determination carved him into the Yukon's icy legend. Yet the truth of what really happened to him is far deeper, far heavier, and far more emotional than the brief glimpses the cameras ever managed to capture. Because long before millions came to know him as the King of Paradise Hill, Tony was a young Dutch farm boy with calloused hands, surviving brutal winters, milking cows before sunrise, dreaming of a life big enough to escape the suffocating cycles of poverty that defined his childhood. And when he immigrated to Canada at 24, barely speaking the language, with almost no money, he entered a world of mining that cared little for dreams and even less for newcomers. Yet Tony fought tooth and nail, hauling fuel, running equipment, welding broken machines, learning every inch of the Klondike until his instincts became sharper than the frost-bitten wind that whipped across his face each dawn, building from a single job into a full-scale empire that would eventually include several claims, massive fleets of dozers, loaders, wash plants, and a dream so outrageous and impossible that even veteran miners told him he had gone insane. Resurrecting a 75-year-old gold dredge that had sat dead for generations, restoring it piece by piece with his crew, risking millions without guaranteeing a single ounce of gold, because that was the kind of man Tony was. Someone who would rather lose spectacularly than win slowly. Someone who believed in his own grit more than he believed in luck. And viewers around the world were mesmerized by his refusal to bend to fear, to government red tape, or to the pressure of being a breakout star on the biggest mining reality show ever. But behind that roar, behind the bravado, behind the endless bleeped-out sentences, Tony carried burdens no camera ever properly explored, starting with the crushing financial weight of keeping his operation alive, where every day cost tens of thousands of dollars, every breakdown bled money, every thaw came too late, every winter arrived too early, and every failed yard of dirt brought him closer to catastrophic loss, forcing him to push harder each season, demanding more from his crew, more from his equipment, and more from his own body, which after decades of hard physical labor finally began deteriorating under the strain. A reality fan slowly noticed as Tony's posture grew more rigid, his movements slower, and the exhaustion behind his eyes became harder to hide during interviews, revealing a man who had spent too long fighting the cold, the mud, the government, and time itself. But the real unraveling began when environmental regulators came down on Tony with a force he did not expect, particularly after the infamous gasoline on the water incident that exploded across Canadian news, triggering legal battles, fines, and years of unwanted attention that made Tony's operation a target for stricter oversight, draining him emotionally and financially, and transforming the mining season from a thrilling challenge into a constant war against regulations that could shut him down at any moment. And at the same time, the burden on his children intensified. Monica caught in the spotlight through deeply personal hardships she tried to hide. Kevin battling injuries and burnout. Mike quietly carrying responsibilities few his age could bear. All while the cameras kept rolling, capturing drama but missing the deeper truth. That the Beets family, behind their tough exteriors, was struggling to keep their identity, sanity, and unity intact under the heat of fame and the weight of a mining operation larger than most people could imagine. And as ground quality in the Yukon plummeted, forcing miners to dig deeper, move more dirt, and spend more money for less gold, Tony found himself fighting diminishing returns, soaring diesel costs, skyrocketing parts prices, and machinery that aged faster than he could replace it, pushing him to a crossroads where even the fiercest Viking had to confront reality. His empire was reaching a point where pure toughness was no longer enough. So when fans started noticing Tony appearing less, talking less, and seeming more distant in recent seasons, rumors exploded online. Did he retire? Did he lose his claims? Did health issues force him out? Did legal problems silence him? Did Discovery shift focus to younger minors? While less dramatic than rumors, is far more human. Tony Beets, after decades of conquering the Yukon with his bare hands, began stepping back not because he was defeated, but because he finally understood that legacy means more than presence, and that sometimes the greatest strength isn't pushing harder. It's knowing when to let the next generation take the wheel. And so Tony transitioned quietly from king to overseer, from warrior to mentor, allowing his children to operate more independently while he protected the business from behind the scenes, minimizing risk, avoiding unnecessary spotlight, and choosing family peace over television chaos. Yet his absence left a void fans can feel even now because no miner, not Parker, not Rick, not anyone, ever matched Tony's combination of madness, brilliance, temper, humor, and sheer unstoppable grit, making his gradual retreat feel like the end of an era, a shift in gold rush history that marks the fading of one of reality TV's greatest characters. And now, as fans speculate whether he'll ever return in full force, the most honest conclusion is this: Tony Beets didn't disappear. He evolved, he aged, he reprioritized, and he finally chose something he rarely allowed himself to choose before: rest, reflection, and the freedom to live without a camera documenting his every misstep. And while the world may never again witness the Viking roaring across his claim in a cloud of dust, his legacy continues in every gold bar pulled from the ground, every dozer ripping through permafrost, every miner who learned from him, and every fan who still remembers the first time Tony Beets stormed onto the screen and changed Gold Rush forever, proving that even the hardest men eventually reach a point when the fight ends, not because they lost, but because they finally won something much more important: the right to walk away on their own terms. Thanks for watching.